Welcome to the Awake Space. I'm Lori Rivers, helping to inspire you to get out and aspire to live your life more fully, more wholeheartedly, and more self-actualized. In this episode, we're going to talk about the new moon in Taurus and what that actually will bring to you, and Jupiter ingressing into Pisces tomorrow. This is a whole lot of good stuff, and it comes with a mixed bag. So be careful what you wish for, people. We'll talk about that and more on episode 4. Good golly, Miss Molly. What a bunch of energy we have moved through. I don't know how you felt leading up to the new moon in Taurus, but this Scorpio rising was walking through broken glass over the last couple of days. Man, I was so glad when I woke up this morning. I knew the energy would release before the new moon, but man, oh man, it was tight. And I have years of practice, years of mindfulness practices. I've got a lot of tools in my tool belt. So if I was going through it, if you were really feeling it, don't be hard on yourself, okay? Especially for you folks who just woke up. Waking up is like waking up in real life. You can wake up fuzzy-headed, foggy-headed, and you have your coffee or your green tea or your matcha or whatever you do to get your day going, and then you decide where you're going from there. But this new moon, getting there was something else. And that's because we were releasing things, ideas, patterns that were in the way of receiving the bounty of the new moon. And Jupiter in Pisces coming in. Jupiter traditionally rules Pisces, not just Sagittarius. So it's really, really a happy planet when it's in Pisces. It's not going to be there that long. We're getting a sneak preview. But I'm also going to talk a little bit about that later on because I want you to be mindful. In traditional astrology, Jupiter is the great benefic, meaning it's they saw it as a real gift. But in my experience of over 3 decades of being an astrologer, Jupiter can kind of be a mixed bag. Good energy can be a mixed bag because if you're not ready to catch the ball, if you don't have your mitt on, you can get smacked right between the eyes. And so it's about being prepared to receive the energy. So we'll talk about that and some more down the line in this episode. But let's talk about that new moon. So the new moon happened at 21 degrees Taurus. I did some videos on TikTok about this. If you're wondering how to find 21 degrees Taurus in your own chart. Now, if you use whole signs or equal houses, you won't have that much trouble finding it. Just look for the house with Taurus in it, and it'll be 21 degrees in. I mentioned the degrees because it puts it in the 3rd decan of Taurus. Each sign has 3 decans. That means there's 10 little degree segments, 3 of them in each sign. And the 3rd decan of Taurus has a Capricorn-like quality, which means structure, manifestation, physical form, crystallization. And so this was a great manifesting moon. It wasn't just because it was Taurus, okay? And Taurus rules the physical comforts of life, security. We tend to look at that as money and real estate in our modern world. But it means love as well, acceptance, self-worth, and value. And so whatever house that's fallen into in your own chart is where that new moon energy is really going to plant seeds, okay? So this is not maturation energy. On one hand, it is a seed planting. That's what all new moons are. They're a seed planting. But the manifestations may come more rapidly from this because it's in the latter part of Taurus, which means we can have some things we've been working on mature faster. It could be things we've worked on for years or thought about for years or planned on come to fruition. If you've been struggling, this may be a time where those struggles are eased. We're talking about this in the Discord server for Patreon. And if you're a member of my Patreon, you have access to the Discord server. You can ask me questions. I answer them there. Try to answer as many as I can. And we've got some good group discussions going on. If you're not sure what the different houses mean, go to my blog at wokeastrology.com and look up the blog post, The Story of the Houses. The Story of the Houses, where I talk about the unfolding of human consciousness through the houses. It's really easy to look at those slices of pie and see them as independent of one another, but we are not independent pieces as human beings. We're not just toes and fingers and tissues and bones. We are a connected whole, and so are our charts. Understanding how the houses play out in your chart is very, very important. Not just your planetary placements. There's no such thing as an empty house. Repeat after me. It's not empty just because it doesn't have a planetary body in it or a calculation point. It is not empty. So go read the blog post if you want to know more about that. Because understanding where that new moon landed in your chart is going to help you understand what goodies are on the way, and knowing how it aspected anything else in your chart as well. So that house will be emphasized if you have some good aspects. That'll help too to get some understanding. So if it's trining or sextiling something, if it's in conjunct or square or in opposition to something, it doesn't mean it's emphasizing a challenge, but you'll get some help making some decisions, making some choices, that kind of thing. It'll be easier for you to do that. And if it's conjunct, well, there's going to be a lot of energy. There's going to be a lot of energy. So if it's conjunct an angle, and that would be your ascendant or your descendant, your IC or your MC, that'll play a role. And if you want to know what rules those things, that's the first house, the 7th house, the 4th house, and the 10th house. In Placidus system, if you use whole signs, I can't help you out. I don't like them. So, and it's okay if you do. Okay, 26 years, I've tried 13 different astrological house systems, as was suggested by my own mentors, and I kind of landed on Placidus. I toyed with the Koch system. It's K-O-C-K, or a C-H, sorry. I toyed around with that, but I toyed around with Regimentus. That didn't really do it for me either. Placidus is just as old as whole signs, really. It uses Ptolemaic calculations. They just haven't finished deciphering the documents, the old documents, to really know how old it is, but we know it goes back a long ways. It's not a modern invention, contrary to what some popular astrologers are saying. I don't know where they get their information, but anyway, I digress. So this new moon, it packs a wallop, so hopefully you're feeling some release and relief, and you can let stuff in. It's a good day, couple of days, so not just on the 11th, but the 12th and the 13th, this energy is rolling out. You can set an altar if an altar is your kind of deal. You don't have to. You could write things down. I gave some good strategies in Patreon for my patrons if they want to know how to kind of manifest intentionally with this energy. Because remember, you're always manifesting, and you can do it intentionally or unintentionally. It's where you put your focus. It's how you set your perceptions. It's if you're looking at it half full, half empty, what glass. It's all up to you on how it works out. And I know it doesn't always feel that way. Sometimes we feel like we don't have choices. I remember in my 20s and 30s when I felt all I had were bad choices, and you could only make the next best one. They all led to something good at the end of the day. I didn't think they would. But we always have a lot more choice in the matter once we're of age. Now, as kids, we don't have as much choice, and that it's a poor word to use. I talk about that in Coffee with Lori a lot. So again, if you're a patron, you get that for free. If not, you can book it through my website. It's $15. We do it every other Sunday. So it'll be on the 23rd. This month is the next one. So there'll be a link in my bio, or not bio, but in the description here. That'll take you to all the links I'm talking about. Let's see. We're going to talk about Jupiter up in the next segment. But first, I'm going to give a little shout out to some new patrons. Patreon is growing. I'm honored, you guys. I'm really, really honored. And if you are a patron and you're listening to this, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And make sure you're coming into that Discord server and answering questions. If you don't know how to use Discord, it's okay. Just tell us, because I'm still learning how to do it too. So stay tuned for the shout outs. All right. Thanks to you patrons, we have this podcast and other fantastic astrological information and resources available to you. So without further ado, let me give some well-deserved shout outs. These are the newest patrons: Gabriella, Krista, Eileen, Marissa, Lauren, Erica. And then I'm going to go back, because I started with some of our newest ones, but let me head back to let's see, we've got Kelly, as always, is a huge supporter. Annika, Anna, Sarah, ALB. Those are off the top of my head because I can't see the list on my phone. But those are my big shout outs for this episode. Every episode I'll be giving other shout outs to thank my big supporters. Don't feel left out. If I missed you this time, I will get you in another episode. Thank you so much. So after that new moon, we have Jupiter ingressing into Pisces on May 13th. I kept saying 12th, but it's the 13th. And it'll be in the evening on Pacific time. Pull up the chart here. It will be going into Pisces. The technical term is ingress, but you can say shift or move. They all work, but the technical astrological term is ingress. So when an astrologer says ingress, it means the planet is moving, or the calculation point is moving. So the chart I have up right now is it moves into Pisces at 5:31 p.m. Pacific. Now, here's what I want you to understand. Jupiter is known as the Great Benefic, and I know a lot of astrologers are very excited, especially the people who are Hellenistic astrologers, because the ancients believed that Jupiter only brought good things. Kind of. You have to remember that astrology, and that's why I want to put it into context, astrology was only used for the higher classes, the powerful, okay? Remember, patriarchy and astrology were both created around the same time. Neither one of them are new. And so the elite had access to astrologers, and those astrologers gave them counsel, if not daily, multiple times a week, okay? So people were kind of primed to be able to receive the benefits of Jupiter. If you're not primed, it's a lot, okay? It's like, can you imagine trying to catch water out of a fire hose without anything, just your hands? You're not going to catch it. So Jupiter often gives us a whole lot of whatever it is. Now, in Pisces, this can be anything from spiritual connectivity, spiritual blessings. Those of you who have had your spiritual awakening may have more abilities come up. You may have more questions. If you're a patron, I want you to make sure you're asking those questions in the Discord server. I have a section just on awakening questions, and I'll do my best. I never got to be asleep. I've had unfoldings, where we open up more and more, but I never got to be totally asleep. It can be very startling to wake up. I've walked a lot of people through it, but unfoldings are also very intense. Another way to look at those are called initiations, and that's where we can sometimes go through dark nights of the soul and be feeling like we're alone and cut off from our guides. By the way, you're never cut off from your guides. So with Jupiter and Pisces, you may have more connectivity with your guides. You might be more receptive to signs and things like that from a metaphysical level. On a physical level, we may see some medical advances. Pisces rules pharmacological response to disease, but we also might see more virality and more mutations of COVID at the same time. This can be a very mixed bag at the mundane level. I am not as excited about Jupiter and Pisces as the Hellenistic astrologers are. Okay, so I use traditional astrology, but I also use my eyeballs to look at where were we 12 years ago, what was going on. And I think we're going to see extremes. And I think we're going to see some extreme weather on the 12th as we get the energy building up for the planet to change signs. On a physical level, mundane level, like regular physics, astrology is reflective. If we look at it from a quantum level, I think we'd see that there's a lot more causality than we give it credit for. I think if we studied humans and their receptivity of subtle energy, if we had the tools and diagnostics and asked the questions the right way, I think we'd see a whole lot we don't see yet. So if you're feeling like a lot of pressure, etc., it might be because of that. Like if you didn't get the relief from the new moon, it may be because we've got Jupiter ingressing into Pisces. Now, the good news is it's not going to be squaring off with the moon because the moon will be out of orb. So, that's good news. And it will no longer be squaring off with anything in Taurus, which it has been. I think we'll see a hike in gas prices. I think we're going to see a hike in food. Prices are going to go up because Jupiter is in Pisces. Pisces rules gas, and that's going to be impacting our transportation. That's there. There's some good news though. Mercury will be trine Saturn, and the moon will be trine Saturn on the 13th. So again, I think we're going to get, it's a mixed bag. I think we're going to see, people are going to be more communicative. People are going to be, transportation is going to get some help because of the gas prices. We did have that security breach. I think you need to make sure you're changing your passwords a lot more, especially with Saturn and Aquarius. And with Jupiter going into Pisces, there's going to nefarious things will also be on the rise. People with ulterior motives will be well cloaked to take action in there. So remember, you can't just say something is all good or all bad. Then you make Saturn the bad guy and you make Jupiter the good guy. And honestly, it just doesn't work out that way in reality. It just doesn't. So you want to look at where Pisces in your chart. That's what's going to be activated, enhanced, getting some some quote unquote good luck or opportunities, and you want to be ready to catch those. If you have questions about that and you're a patron, make sure you go into the Discord server. You make sure you come to Coffee with Lori as a patron. You get to come to that for free. Every other week you can just come in, ask me any question to do with metaphysics or astrology, and I will be the fire hose of information as much as possible. And if I don't know the answer, I admit I don't know, and we go look it up. We go look for some resources. So I think there's going to be more spiritual unfoldings, more awakenings, some up-leveling for people who are already in it. I want to urge you, though, if you're in your spiritual awakening, to recognize it. A lot of people have left formal religion, especially in the United States, and yet, even though they left the buildings and they've left the membership rosters, they've brought some theology with them that doesn't always serve very well. And so I really ask that you determine what your beliefs are, because Jupiter is going to be in Pisces, and that rules belief. Okay. And it's a really good time to kind of sift and sort and understand what's actually your belief, what's something you grew up with. Do you want to keep it? Do you want to toss it out? You don't have to toss the baby out with the bathwater. There's a lot of good stuff you can hang on to. But when it comes to judging yourself, when it comes to sexuality, social, conditions and roles, the idea of what a man is, a woman is, a them is, all of those things, ask yourself, is that something I really believe, or was I taught to believe it? And I'm examining that. So those are all things to take a look at when Jupiter is in Pisces. Now, it's going to go direct, and then it's going to go retrograde. Or it's not going to go direct. It's going to go into Pisces, and then it goes retrograde pretty darn fast. I wrote about that in the May overview of the astrology, because this is just a really disruptive month. There's a lot going on. And it will go back into Aquarius July 28th. So it's not going to get very far into Pisces. It's given as kind of a preview of 2022. And so you want to pay attention. In Living by Luna, which we have coming up on the 16th, in Living by Luna, we go over the lunar transits to the houses, and we journal, and you pay attention to how your own personal astrology plays out. But I urge you also to take a look at Jupiter, journal that. I'll be getting more of that information up on another platform soon. I just haven't had a chance to do it because of my own transits. If you've been following my journey, my dad is very ill, and I went out to Wyoming for a few weeks. Just got back at the end of April, and I'm still kind of playing catch up with my day job and my Patreon and all the TikToking and all of that. So Jupiter in Pisces will be a good time to pay attention to things for yourself. What else do we have with Jupiter in Pisces right away? It will eventually, it's kind of technically squaring off with Venus. So I think we're still not going to see a good result on jobs numbers. There's going to be a fight between going to the office and staying at home. It's really funny watching all the articles right now. Different camps trying to say, businesses saying work from home is ridiculous and nobody likes it, and all the people who work from home going, we don't want to go back to the office, So we're going to see some pushing and shoving when it comes to how things move forward. But yeah, so that's what I've got to say about it. Just feel into it. If you're a patron, I'd love to hear your experiences. Make sure you talk to me in the Discord. I love that. We'll be doing some live streams shortly on TikTok. I'll be doing more of those, trying to get up live more, so don't miss those. You can see all the links in the podcast description. As always, if you've got questions, you can use my texting service, any of that. Be glad to answer them. Thank you. All right, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for more. Thank you so much. I'm Lori Rivers, and thanks for being awake. The world needs you. You were born here at this time to be here at this time for a reason. So never forget that. You are loved.